YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, all at once. So we are checking that out. Give me a minute here to see. Yes, it says we're live on YouTube, but I want to pull that window open too. Let's see.
Hey guys, I want you to check out this game called Naval 3093.
We kill off the audio from the ad. Let's skip the ad. Yes, that works as well. Very, very good. Very, very good indeed. Right. Well, hello everyone. Bit of a different start maybe. Just checking everything out, and hopefully all of the streaming services will work good. So if you're out there, say hi. Right. And we will be talking a lot about American society in this time period as we play through it, because we're still, well, only in just 1938. Not looking at hitting the war until late 41 or early 42. Hello, son. How you doing? Okay. First we're going to postpone. Yeah, 6 months. Don't need to disable help for a year and exchange IC for resources. Not with it, so we'll shut those down for now. And hello, Restork. Don't know if that's how you pronounce it. 123 over on Twitch. Good to have you here. Good to hear, son. Glad people are doing good. I know I'm looking for for a fun day here, playing Hearts of Iron and seeing how America is doing. And production. Okay, well, let's see. We're going to need to eventually do a lot of upgrades, which is actually quite realistic, because America was not spending money on much. The Navy was one of the few things, as I talked about. Okay, Preston. That's probably it. Good. Yeah, when people put in E's for 3, go monarchist as U.S.A. Well, I don't think we can do that with this mod. This is not Hearts of Iron 3, and Hearts of Iron 4. Blah. This is Hearts of Iron 3, and it's Black Ice, so it is set up to be a realistic setting. And who would be king? Who would be king in America in the 1930s? That would be the question. Who would be king? As much as I love monarchies, you need to have a general consensus on who would be king and why. Right, let's speed up the clock a little bit here. And we'll start also making an episode here. Welcome back to January 1938. This is Gamer 1745 here, and we're playing as the U.S.A. while playing Black Ice for Hearts of Iron 3. And okay, Preston thinks the USA should go monarchist with King Roosevelt the First. Well, in a way, didn't they sort of do that? I mean, he became president for life. What more would you want? Um, I don't think America was ready for a monarchy back then. Light cruiser armament advance. Yeah, we're going to be doing a lot of these. Heavy cruiser armament. We could do that now. Good bomber crew. Okay. Um, um, let's do twin engine bomber crew. You're a monarchist in real life. Well, Preston, um, we can give the medal, sure. Maybe if you hang out here long enough, you'll meet Airy, who is another monarchist around here. I am a Jacobite. I don't know if you've ever heard of Jacobites, how much you know about monarchy. That's why I say I do love monarchies, but I don't know that America is for it. Okay, one of our copper sales has expired. Fine. Okay, we're now back to copper surplus. And some marine classes have advanced. Switching all those. Yeah, we can continue to improve our. Okay, strategic resource trading. Build up more money. I know it's a thing in France in the late. No, you're thinking of that's Jacobin. I think the radical revolutionaries in 1789 up until Napoleon and crew get rid of them. No, no, Jacobite. Scotland, 1745. That should give you some clues for Googling. Jacobite. Export of molybdenum. Okay, yes, United Kingdom, we will do that. And mobile unit command and control. 37 technology, we'll let that continue. Green periscopes. Yeah, we need to stop that. And mobile unit training, which I think we already sort of figured that we're going to continue. But since we're getting periscopes, let's do propulsion for submarines. Footage, okay. Got some stolen blueprints, very good. Okay, submarine torpedo tubes advance. And mobile defense advance. Okay, submarine torpedo tubes, that's too far in advance to continue efficiently. We could theoretically, but well, let's look down here. Okay, mobile defense is 39. We don't need, we'll do artillery firepower. And integrated support, we'll do those two. No, that didn't take. Where is it? There we go. And we stole bomber targeting focus level 2. Give us the following benefits. Okay. Invest in coal mines. And now Playing Hoi 4 as Germany went monarchist, invaded France, but as it got into Corsica, there was 20 British divisions in Corsica. Okay, sounds like something from Hoi 4, both including the bad AI decision to put 20 divisions in Corsica. Gain 18 rare materials in the port of Austin, which I believe is in Texas. That's Houston. That's Brownsville. That's Corpus Christi. Austin. Sounds like Austin, Texas is, I guess, inland, but I don't know. Let's see if we can find it. Port of Austin. There we go. Oh, it's way up here in. Okay. Way up here in Michigan. That is Michigan. Okay, we're along with some coal. So I don't know what we found up here. Rare materials, obviously, but definitely not rubber. Okay. I guess fine. Nothing. Well, I don't know that we need to. Okay, mobile defense, right. And submarine batteries advance. So if you're a monarchist, may I ask, Preston, where are you from? As in country, I don't need to know. I don't need to even know that, but it's just sort of curious. What country you are in that you favor monarchies? Oh, we give them fuel for money. Okay, we could do that for a while. Export of zinc to Mexico. Okay, we'll do that. Mobile unit combined arms advance. Be here and 1938. Okay, good. And light cruiser classes, which is over here. Okay. No, light carrier. Yeah, I ought to learn how to read, shouldn't I? Light carrier classes. Okay, 1940. Yeah, that's a little pushing a little far up there. Push. Let's go with better. Unit command and control. Can't do 39 technology, but there really isn't an overwhelmingly good reason to study ahead, as it were, on these just yet. Engine advance. Okay, grayed out. Well, let's come down here and do amphibious unit training. Get the Marines trained up. Well, do reconnaissance. Combined arms. Small warfare. Yep. Got a lot of these things, but we're trying to get through the calendar as it were. Yes, you can have rare materials. Guatemala. Mentioning rare materials. Is this like fully? Nope, not yet. Fully built up. Wow. Gonna be a lot there. Port of zinc to the Netherlands. All right. Colombia decides you don't need to trade with any of us anymore. Motor torpedo boats. Okay. Oh, we got too many projects already, so. Ammunition production. That's up here, and that's 1940. Let's come back down here and we can do recon unit coordination. Oh no, we are too. Marine engine is advanced, which allows us to start researching here, in particular long-range submarines. We want to get that Gato class submarine and stop that research. Okay, industry advanced, very good. I'm a little surprised we're using up so much. Well, we're trading some away, but we're using so much coal already. Oh, here, yes. Okay, we're going to start with that. Maybe we should have gone for better coal production. Used to playing as Germany that has more than enough coal. Okay. Gold mining, money. Okay, province uprising. Yeah, this is... Okay, you attack down to there. And military rations advance. To here. Cruiser fire control computer. And no, these aren't the fun type of computers that we have today. These are basically things with dials that you put in values to calculate firing angles. Very, very simplistic things. Export of zinc. Canada. Okay, Canada, you can have some zinc. Heavy armor design. So now we have heavy armor under tanks. That's all done to that. We're researching better engines. We haven't done tank destroyers. But we can now do cast armor construction. That sounds cool. Okay, pause. We've just had another outbreak of silliness. Okay. You go over there. I don't know why this corps is not attached to San Francisco's army there. Okay. Yes, you can have energy. Yes, you can have energy. Now we're back into the positive energy. I'm not sure quite why it was such a negative thing for a while. They were all up on rare materials of there. No, I wanted to look at production. Okay. Okay, we're getting into too much of this and not enough industry here. Well, we are in 38, but yeah, let's do a little more industry here. So building up theirs. Inland here a bit. Okay, we can do another heavy industry here. That'll put out a lot of up here. We have a base of 21, so let's do 2 rares extraction. Now I don't know why we're having such player revolt risk right now. That's inappropriate. Very much inappropriate. Okay. Well, concentrated industry. Oh, Michael, how you doing today? Zinc plus surplus is down to just 2. I'm actually trying to get through the clock here. Okay, one of our zinc. Yeah, great, fine. Export of copper with who? Soviet Union. Okay. Additional supply production has advanced. Very nice. Allows us to not need to produce as much in the way of supplies to be able to produce more other things. Yeah, we can push ahead. Well, we've got. Okay, 2,000 to get some tungsten mines online. And no. Oh, it's not. Okay. We don't have enough for that. Okay. Mass events. Okay, and we have another stupid. They think like this is super fun to do, whack-a-mole on all of these rebel outbreaks that are very unhistorical. Okay, they want more show trials. We've now hit low popularity. Okay, it really helps to have all of your ministers in the same party. It also helps, I guess, counter espionage and support the ruling party, supposedly. Should help. Oh, we are out of spies. That may be an element there. So let's lock this down, unlock this. So let's go to that. There we go. That'll help with the spies. Hopefully that will get greater. Only this guy here, who's Democratic Socialism, Chief of the Air Force, I don't know. Okay, we want to do appease them, is which I thought we were already doing, but okay. Appease them, zinc exports. United Kingdom, yes, we can do zinc exports to the United Kingdom. And now that we have enough money, because it's going to cost, okay, we're going to wait. It's going to cost us 10,000. So let's get to, well, about 13, 14,000. Fire control systems. It's generally down here in the naval. Okay, yeah, we'll continue that. We want a really good navy. Okay. Seaport capabilities, airport capabilities, and road networks all advance all at once. Very good. Okay, we don't need to do any of these. Oh no, we need to keep doing the 38. We don't need to do any of the 39 until 39. We're going to, we are still, okay, we're going to get more rolling artillery barrages. That is here. Shut that down. We're going to wait till we get to, I don't know, about 13,000. And AVS suspensions, which allows us to go back down here. Gasoline engines, advance. Export of tungsten, who with Iran? No. Yes, we can get a little money from Thailand. Gold mining, that'll do it for money there, yay. Monumental architecture and broadcasting advance. Okay. Let's get these 3 done. Now. Network seaport. Yes. Upgraded. Come on, you're supposed to be attacking. Okay, you just haven't made it there yet. Okay, well, tungsten to who? Iran? No. Yes, and now we will invest in the scientific community. Right, yeah, Battle of Shelby, yeah, right, okay. Now we're going to push a little early on basic education. Keep our leadership up. Well, you know, I also want to keep armor designs up as well. We can do the Monroe effect. We can do, I don't know, basic and heavy artillery brigades improvements. Let's do prime mover, or truck, I should say. Prime mover for development. Okay, agriculture advance. Advance first. Here, 1940. Okay, that is too far in the future to do so efficiently. Yeah, I think we should, and we'll start out with these. Capital ship vertical protection. Now we want to make sure we get through these early on, so when we build ships, they will be built well. We put them in the production queue. Well, I think we can also push on down here. With screws, rudders, holes, all those kind of cool things for ships. I'm looking at a very naval focused campaign. Yes, railroad networks advance. Very good, which will help us in multiple ways. The basics, but also okay, a lot of HQs. Well, we could use some of these HQs and things. So let's grab up armor HQs and railway level 3s. Yeah, see, we had the first set of effects plus these set of effects. Export of copper to South Africa. Well, I guess we could use the money. Torpedo protection, basically bulges on the sides of your ship. Is it? Oh, here, right out. Okay. And oil refining. 41. Okay, we don't want to continue that right now. That will be helpful. More oil. Now, okay, we have 2 more. Let's come down over here. So we have 2 more slots. Now we are again touching bit negatives on coal. So now some of it, I think, is what is happening. Well, maybe not entirely. I think some of it is you know, revolt risk. So coal's down by 30. You know, its revolt risk is down by 30%, and so I just still am a bit I promised myself not to rage quit over this, though I do think this is very, very bad. Very, very bad. Okay, well, mildly big. So let's move the coal field there. Even bigger. We're looking at the base number. You always look at the base number to determine where you might want to improve. Coal mining. It's okay. Yes. Oven there. So what we're going to do is, because I knew we were, well, not more than I thought we had, but we're going to do that. All these are going to be burning more coal when they come out, but no, I do want a lot of industry, but I also want to have the coal to fuel it. Base of 7. Well, I guess we've been doing that already. The America has a lot of coal. Want to be preached at a bit about the insanity of today's world. Does anybody else think the world's going insane now? Or is it just me? Ooh, that's a base of 10, so that would be a good one. Or is it just me? Who else? Anybody else out there, whether live now or later on YouTube, think the world is going insane? Get us. Okay, let me just save this here so we got all of our nice progress done. Got all the way to the end of March here before I started blathering on about. Okay, California. It's run by Democrats. All branches of the state government, meaning the governor, the lieutenant governor, all of the elected statewide officials like the Secretary of State for California and what are all Democrats. The legislature, both because there's both a California a state senate and a California assembly, are super majorities in both houses, Democrats. Know that most of the population in California lives right along here, okay? Most of the population, and that's like literally about 70% or more of the population of this state, of all of this state. And if you go out here, it's almost all Republicans, okay? It's almost all, overwhelmingly majority Republicans out here. But they make up such a small percentage of the population of the state, they don't control much. Meaning you get a couple of state assemblymen, a couple of state senators, a couple of representatives to the Congress, United States Congress that are Republicans, but the legislature is all controlled by Democrats. And all of the California Supreme Court justices have been appointed by Democrats. So they're all leftists. So the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive branches in this state are 100%. Hello, Titanic big ship. Maybe you think the world's going insane by your title. Are all controlled by Democrats. So this is a entirely Democrat state. Well, they are pushing for green energy. Now, I have noticed one thing they have pointed out, and I do support, is trying to do hydrogen infrastructure. Meaning, like how you go fill up your car with gasoline, or you plug it in for electricity. Well, a hydrogen, put in there. They do have some natural gases, but those are more for fleet vehicles like buses, not common, private ownership cars. The hydrogen is actually a good idea, but I don't know if we're quite ready for it yet. But for the last 10 years or so, California has not enough electricity, especially in summer, running all the air conditioners here, particularly in Southern California. But San Francisco, the Central Valley, that's all. Everywhere's hot, so it doesn't have anywhere near enough electricity as it needs. So they really promote up wind farms and solar plants, as well as solar on houses. There had been several nuclear power plants, but all but one of them has been shut down over the last 10 or 15 years. So they're running out of electricity, and they're shutting down nuclear power plants. And they have no desire, and if anything, penalties to shut down power plants that either use, fuel oil, or which is basically unrefined, oil, or minimally refined oil, or coal power plants. There are some of those in California, but they don't want to build any more of those. They want to shut down. There's one last nuclear power plant operating that is scheduled to be shut down in 2025. The governor is now thinking about maybe not shutting that nuclear power plant down. Now, these power plants were all, fairly modern power plants. And you know what the California governor and government, shall we say, so it isn't just the governor, meaning it's like I just said, all levels of the state government. Like I say, you can go out other places and find, counties run by Republicans, or smaller cities, things that are classified as a city. You might think of them as a town, run by Republicans, but no statewide things are Republicans. So what are they trying to encourage? Arno, my friend, good to have you here. Thank you for all your help. Thank you so much for all your help. So, and because of Arno's help, we are live. No one's said hi there yet. Don't know if anybody's watching. We are live also on Facebook. Something I don't use much of, but Arno has been the champion of that and really helped out there. Right. What are they really, really pushing hard to promote here in California? Electric cars. Okay, we don't have enough electricity. Oh, and electric scooters too. But that's another whole issue. But they're trying to promote. Thanks, Arno. Sure. They're trying to promote electric cars heavily. Well, when you don't have enough electricity, when you really, to the point that it's getting near brownouts and things in the summer, why are you promoting electric cars? It's ideology over practicality. Because look, I grew up in Southern California here. I live in Southern California here, in this sort of area. And I remember days of smog when I was a kid, and they had smog alerts, and it was bad. And I like clean air. And so, they've killed a lot of the industry here by overregulating it. And that was a contributor to the smog, but more of the contributor, I do believe, as in percentage of it, wasn't so much energy or industry. And now industry needs power, but fortunately they've killed much of the industry, so they don't need as much power. Or we'll just drove it out of the state. Tesla's moved to Texas. So yeah, they're driving more and more electric car producers, move them to Texas, yes, because of multiple reasons. But most of it was car pollution, and this was when cars did not have, and I can't explain how a catalytic converter works on a car, but it's something that you attach to some part of the tailpipe of the car, and it reduces dramatically the amount of exhaust fumes coming out of the car. So again, that's one thing I really. Oh, good, you're also over there. Great, Arna. Get more watchers over there. Maybe we will find some more interested people. So I'm not one of these people that thinks that industry can do no wrong and all for any sort of pollution. No, nothing like that. I don't think anything like that. But when you push for ideology over practicalness, that is when we start to see these sort of crazy situations. And I mean, we can see it in Germany pushing for wind and solar power. Solar power in Germany nowadays, they're pushing hard for it. In a subarctic country, they're pushing for solar power. And Trump said, you're going to be dependent on Russian oil and gas, natural gas. And, Merkel and group, no, it's just Trump. Well, Trump was right about that. That Germany, they've supposedly shut off oil to Poland, or oil or gas, or both, to Poland and Bulgaria now. Russia has. And so, yeah, how's that working out for you people? I understand. I don't. Okay. Fukushima is up here somewhere. And the tidal earthquake, and then the tsunami, the tidal wave, whatever you want to call it, that hit. There's Fukushima. That hit and destroyed the power plant, and a lot of radioactive waste. And basically because of that, they've shut down all nuclear power plants since Fukushima in Japan. I understand the reaction to it. Now, there are inland lakes, and there are they're not the Mississippi, but significant inland rivers. And Japan is a country of earthquakes. I get that. And I get the idea that maybe you need to think about not just earthquake damage, but possible, not necessarily likely, but just possible, because you don't want to go through a Fukushima. The tsunami killing people is bad enough. You don't need to have nuclear problems on top of that. I get that, and I get you may need to rethink it, and maybe all of, not just as a reaction to the bad stuff, but to get rid of all of them. But maybe they all looked at them and go, oh, all shit, they're all along the coast, and we got, they're vulnerable to this possibility. And so they decide to, stop them all. Japan, because it has very little coal, basically no oil, and they've used up just about the few minor oil reserves they had. you know, nuclear power makes sense in Japan for the, from that perspective. It may, again, be a problem from a, tidal wave, tsunami type sense, but there's good reason for nuclear power in Japan. But I, like I say, I can understand Fukushima and I can understand rethinking it. But I don't see any of those problems in Germany. And I know in California, and we have lots and lots of earthquakes here. I don't know who has more, Japan or California. We've got them like every few minutes, literally. Now, those are not perceivable by humans. Those ones every few minutes. Now, realize this is a big state. And they're not all in one location or anything. But the ones that are perceivable, meaning you can sort of kind of feel them, they happen, every few months. But most of those most people don't really notice them, and they're doing no damage. And so, we get 1 or 2 or 3 a year that does a little bit of damage, and they're getting less and less as either the old buildings have fallen down or they've been retrofitted and the new ones are all built to code for earthquakes so that they're relatively safe. But the earthquakes here, unlike Japan, an earthquake in Japan, mostly and partially because it's volcanic, in Japan is either land going up or down in elevation. And so, even if it goes up in elevation, it can slosh water onto the land. If it goes down in elevation, it creates a void, so water rushes in, too much rushes in, and then it sloshes up onto the land. Well, basically all of the faults in and around California, which includes off there, are all slip faults, meaning they're going laterally, so they do not cause tsunamis. So we do not have any likelihood of tsunamis in California. I think the closest elevation change, I forget, but not slip faults, but whatever, are up in Alaska. So there's nothing anywhere near. So, there is not good reason to get rid of nuclear power plants. In fact, they are very green, and they're good. They're good for the environment. So it's this ideology. You need to make more awareness of the Facebook and Twitter by putting links and such in your YouTube videos. You're right. You reminded me of that before, and I haven't done it yet. Yes, we need to do that. I'm not going to do it right now, but I do need to do that for tomorrow's thing. I don't know how, because partially, Arno, and you know this, and it just, Facebook to me is just another social media thing to have to pay attention to. And I quite honestly already sort of feel overwhelmed by various social medias, including Discord. And hey, everybody, also Discord. Hey, Starstreak. We're doing well, just blathering on about things. So, dealing with Discord and Twitter and YouTube and Twitch. Yep. No, that's why you so much help. And so, so I gotta use, I need to keep track of what's going on the Facebook thing, but I really hope, and guys, one of the things, no, I was just ending sort of a thing on stupid government policies about power. That is when because we have a Discord server that I know is linked in a few places. That it's really cool when I come on at times and see 2 or 3 of you guys hanging out, playing some game, often War Thunder or something else. So it's really cool when you guys are hanging out and whatever on Discord without me, meaning you guys have just made friends through the channel and everything else, and that's really cool. Well, I think it's time to end this episode. Of course, not the live stream, so everybody here live, keep hanging out, but those watching later on YouTube, thank you so much. Love to have your thoughts about this, in my opinion, irrational push for green energy. I'm not saying we shouldn't be, look at, I lived for less than 6 months, okay, so it's not very long, but lived in Edinburgh for a while. It was more than visit. I visited there a bunch of times. Well, when I first went to Edinburgh, the city was black. Now it's a sort of a light cream color. There were two types of moths that lived in and around the city. One was sort of a dark black moth, and one was a sort of a lighter white moth. Lighter white moths were very rare, and the black moths were quite common. Well, now it's the reverse, because of the coal fires, particularly coal fires of the 19th century, put out so much coal smoke in that city that turned the city black. You literally couldn't wash the black off the stone buildings. It just had permeated into the stone so much that it was all sort of, now it was 100% black, but all the stone was sort of stained that and dark. Well, by the time I was living there versus first sort of, and it was over like roughly a 10-year period, first visited between living there and then visiting later, they've been acid washing, not just like scrubbing with soap and water, but acid washing the stone surfaces. And because of that, they did this study. They noticed, some researcher noticed that the birds that lived in and around Edinburgh would spot these sort of light beige moths, and we'd catch them out of the air or when they landed and eat them. But the dark moths, they wouldn't, because they were camouflaged to the dark background. Well, it's switched now with the light background. So we see environmental change because of that. Well, so I wouldn't want to live in polluted Edinburgh of 1890 or 1910 with just every home billowing out coal smoke, to heat it and all that stuff. So I'm not against the idea of encouraging reasonable levels of change to more green energy. It's not that. It's when it's irrational, when you don't have enough electricity and you're doing policies to reduce your current electric output and not allowing increase, that's where I start getting very good. Oh, your favorite city too, Starstreak. I know you live over in Ireland. Yeah, I liked it. Someday I'll because I'm thinking of another rant, though I'm not going to do it right now, on the way cities are designed. LA and San Diego, but LA area, San Diego, are designed for the scale of the car, not of the human being, of the car. So it was very different living in a city designed for the scale of a human being, which Edinburgh is, and not for the car scale of the car. So it's a different sort of thing. Now, I really enjoy Edinburgh. I hear it's like a lot of things have gone to hell in Britain, in the cities, since I lived there. So I don't know if it's quite as bad as all that, but with Wrecking Ball in the 60s, like they did here. Okay, yeah, 60s, 70s. Hey, Kyle Garmin, how you doing? But okay, so like everyone, if you haven't already, you can hit the like button even on YouTube. You can hit the you can subscribe, and you can post a comment. See you next time for even more, more Hearts of Iron. Okay, guys, we're going to keep going here. I'm just going to turn the heater off, and we'll make another episode, but just hang loose for just a minute here. I don't need it hot. It was just a little Really, it's the morning still here. It's just now 9 a.m. here in, well, yeah, it's sunny Southern California. Quite sunny out here. Woman walking by with sort of a sun hat on. And it's bright and sunny 9 a.m. Okay. So we're going to take a look at naval stuff here a little bit. Talk about some of my naval thoughts in Way 3 in this next episode. Welcome back to Hearts of Iron 3's Black Ice 11.2. And of course, we're playing as the United States here for this playthrough. And of course, I'm Gamer1745. And if you're new here, I hope I can earn your subscription. And for everyone, I hope I can earn your like button, smashing the like button. Now, we're going to take a little talk about naval strategy, because if you've talked a bit about some of what I'm doing for naval. We're going to do a little bit of organization. Okay, well, what I've done here is I've created this Battleship Division 3 with 1 carrier, 6 battleships, and 2 light cruisers so far, and Battleship Division 4 similarly. So let's do this, because I believe in combined arms. And combined arms are different for surface warfare versus, land warfare. That was hitting the wrong button. There we go. Now, several of you have criticized some of my naval strategy of grouping here, particularly the carriers in with the battleships. They were suggesting more battleships, heavy cruisers, and some destroyers, which we haven't put in yet. Let's do that now. Okay, we've got these, and these should all be, now we plan on, these are all Clemson class destroyers. And hopefully we'll get Fletcher class destroyers, which should be significantly better. We'll give Nimitz here the extra destroyer. Right. They were suggesting battleships, some heavy cruisers, and some destroyers, which destroyers are going to be one of your better and probably your best fast anti-submarine warfare. And they were suggesting carriers, light cruisers, and destroyers for that group. Now, okay, why am I doing it this way? And is this a bad choice or a good choice here? Okay, well, I think it's a good choice. Obviously, that's why I'm doing it. But how you should work this out. Okay, and why I'm doing this. I'm putting 1 carrier here. I may, after a while, swap out, once I get them, swap out CVLs, the smaller fast carriers for this. The reason I'm having a carrier here with this battleship is not because if you have a carrier here and then you go battle the Japanese fleet or the German fleet or whoever, you can have your carrier sunk, which is not a good thing. It shouldn't try to enter into surface warfare, in the battles. It might, I don't know. I mean, it might get in there anyways, but it shouldn't try to. And that's not what the purpose of this is for. This is here to provide close air patrol, a CAP. That's what they would call it, for this fleet. I do not want this fleet to be going, or the other battleship division, to ever be moving around without a carrier air wing. I don't want to rely upon land-based air to fly fighter cover. I don't want to rely upon a different fleet, different group, to also have to be in that same sea provinces Hey, Martek. And Daniel Nunez is here. Very good. And Eric is here. Very good. Hello. So I want to, whenever I move the battleships, wherever they're on at sea, I want to make sure they have air cover. And so the most immediate air cover will be from a carrier mixed with this group. So that is why I'm doing this. Now, okay, this has a single CAG on it. It could have 2 CAGs on board. Hopefully we'll build some more and add some more. Now, what you should do for carriers is let's presume for the moment. Hey, unqualified gamer, good to have you here. Let's say there's a Japanese fleet here in this province. What you should do is you should move your carrier, say your carrier group, to this province over here. I'm clicking on, to this province, and then launch carrier attacks from here to here, and not bring your carriers in for surface battles. That very much is the case. So I'm planning on creating some carrier groups that will have my fleet carriers in them, and try to keep them out of surface action. I am not even sure. I'm sure that I'm probably not going to be able to micromanage it well enough, but I would like to keep even the because they're never. They try. What was it? Halsey was trying to get into a surface to surface sea battle with one of the Japanese fleets down in the Philippines region, and he even uncovered the landing support that he was supposed to cover it, and that was being attacked by a Japanese fleet, and he sort of got shamed and whatever, turned around to head back to protect the invasion fleet. I'm not saying we won't, or because I think they very well may just get into my battle fleet, but my goal is not to have this or even a group of divisions come into a Japanese fleet and have a big slugging match between battleships. It very well may happen, and I may even at some point choose to do so. But what I really want to do is stand off, over here and pound the fleet out here. Now, of course, they may try to pound my fleet back, and so it's back and forth. But with their carrier groups, and so that is why I'm doing this mixed here, because we will have a dedicated carrier task force or division or however you want to call it, but I just want to make sure that wherever these battleships go, they will have carrier-based air to protect them at all times, and that's my thinking on this, and not just that this is what I plan to charge into battle with. This is more, if they charge into battle with me, I'll be able to defend the carriers with some surface battle groups. Anyway, smart. I think their green policy makes perfect sense if you think about their ultimate goal of being reduction of human consumption instead of what they say. Martek, you're probably right. Now, I posted, I think it was just yesterday, on Twitter. You guys can follow my Twitter at gamer_1745 over on Twitter. A graphic from a 1953 magazine saying how all the population of the world then could be fit into, and they, a super sized sort of skyscraper at the time, comfortably. And as part of that, I put Malthus is wrong. And I agree with you that there are, for several ideological reasons, and some of them are disingenuous. I think some are anti-white racists, and I don't just mean in the U.S., I mean in other parts of the world that are trying to use white guilt. I don't feel any, but some people do. White guilt and other things as a power play for their ethnic or racial groups from other parts of the world. So they're using it. So they're disingenuous about maybe population reduction, but they're using that to try to depopulate the West. I think there is that going on. Again, I have put this, I am not a racist. I am a culturalist. I don't care about your skin color. I care about your culture. That's what I care about. But you are right. There are depopulationists. There are, and I've seen it ever since the 70s, which I think comes along with it, are the anti-consumptionists. They want to minimize human activity. And so I do believe you're right that they may want to go, oh, well, we just don't have enough power here in California. We have to shut this down. We don't have enough power. We got to shut this down. And by engineering not having enough power, instead of building power plants, they're trying to do sort of, and I've seen some, idealistic drawings, and I even saved some, of a future in which it's all green, and we all live in little sort of little mini farms that are all green plants around you. All, wouldn't this be beautiful? And you go out and you pick your tomatoes and you pick your lettuce from your home farm, and there's just all these, small, no big cities, and just all these little small communities everywhere. Wouldn't this be wonderful? I'm going, no. That's a bad idea. I don't want to live that way, but they want to convince us to live that way, and I do think there is that. Martek, you're absolutely right. Hello, gamer. Speaking. Hi, Beam Slam. I haven't said it already. Speaking of naval stuff, I heard that there is a ship kit on offer, a bundle with both Titanic and Moskva. Yeah, that's good. I hadn't heard that. I believe there very well could be. Thinking of the two ships, I get it. How do you like this game to hoy for? This with Black Ice is my favorite over anything in Hoi 4, though there are some really good things with Hoi 4. What I would really want is a mix of the two, and I'm not going to go into right now, unqualified gamer, but on the details. But I prefer this over Hoi 4. Now, I play a lot of Hoi 4. Until I just started this series, I've been playing World of Blaze Hoi 4. I really like Hoi 4. But of the two, but with the Black Ice version, this is still my favorite, because I think this is still the most realistic World War II Grand Simulator. Hoi 4 is too much your EU 20th century, too much, hey, let's bring the Kaiser back to Germany, or let's make America fascist, or, it's too much of these alt history stuff to really nail it down for me. Not that it's all bad, because like I say, I do like it, but this is, I think, a better game still. Sounds like a shrinking deal to me, yes. The business is going under, yeah, okay. I hate these sort of manufactured crises like you described. They make me feel so powerless. Absolutely. And I do think they are we are in a drought in Southern California, or in California, but I think it's more Southern California. We are in it, and it's been for about 10 years. But they've also, while this has been going on, have torn down and stopped building of dams to catch water when it does rain, because it does rain during seasons, and it does do this, because they're worried about, they claim, they're worried about certain endangered species. That if there's not enough water flowing to the oceans or whatever, if you trap it in dams, in smallish dams, because none of these projects would be huge dams, in volumes of water, but enough to help, that they don't want to stop water when the water does flow, naturally. I recently found out this is the Colorado River here, all the way coming up from here. The Colorado River. Well, it no longer goes into the ocean. I don't think it even goes to Mexico anymore. I recently found this out. They, because Southern California pumps out, or gets a lot of it. They also send a lot of it to Arizona, put it to farming. That literally they go and they use all of the Colorado River. Now Mexico never really used much; it just sort of came through here and into the ocean. So we're now pulling this Colorado River water, literally to L.A., to San Diego, and off over to Phoenix. And other sort of uses that all this water here. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but they're getting their water from over here when there's a lot of rain that hits in these areas, and they refuse to build dams, that would hold considerable amounts of water. Not enough not any one of them is going to solve the problem, but it would alleviate the problem, because when we do get lots of water coming down, the ground is sort of dry, so a lot of the water comes in, flows quickly, and into the ocean. But they don't want to build dams to trap that water and allow it to be used before it immediately flows into the ocean. Whether for farming in certain areas, in the Central Valley, or for other human consumption uses. So there is, hey Ragar, no, we're talking problems in California here. So, and they claim it's environmentally. They claim that, they've killed off a lot of the farming here. Really pissed off a lot of them, the true Mexican American communities, because a lot of them are Mexican American, not just Mexicans that have come to America, but truly the Mexican Americans. Here they pissed off a lot of them because they are limiting their use of the water for farming over, water levels need to be kept up for this animal type that is endangered. Well, this animal type, whatever it is, some newts or whatever, have been around for millions of years living in this environment, and the environment's altered and changed, and they've gotten larger and smaller populations. I don't think it's going to kill these damn things. They're just, I think as Martek's saying, I think they're using it as an excuse for some of them, and others they are just humans be damned, literally humans be damned, nature is more important. Hell, fuck nature if nature means significant damage to humanity, okay? Fuck nature. Now, if we can, and there are ways to work together, to live together with nature, absolutely. But if we're going to choose between nature and humanity, fuck nature. Let's get humanity. Humanity is what is important to be saved. Now, humanity is best saved with having well-flourishing nature, no doubt. But you don't panic over these things. And it's just incredibly stupid. What's the big cities for the coastline when the water rises? This will happen if we don't do anything. Well, the water isn't going to rise. I mean, that's just silly. But they think it is. It's too mild. Imagine if you said something intersectional like endangered native lands. Oh, well, see, we don't have to worry about native lands anymore in California. They all have casinos, okay? They all have casinos. They got plenty money. I'm not going to go into it, but I know very much of the history of some of these tribes out here. Why I know and whatnot, I'm not going to go into that. But tribes that had, well, we'll just say, had almost zero population, in that the tribe literally had less than 10 people registered as members of the tribe. now have hundreds of people listed as members of this tribe because they now have a casino and they get a cut of the casino. So yeah, the tribal lands are now just casinos here in California. The U.S. robbed Mexico of their rivers. That's great. Capitalists are the fine. Well, it's this river here. I don't really know that they were using it much, quite honestly. If we look at terrain mode, it was just desert. Mexico really didn't use this. I don't know if it's robbed, but now we wouldn't be here for starters. Well, okay, beam slam, but you got to understand their viewpoint. You don't have any nature in Europe because it's all managed. So they want wild nature, not the nature that you manage in Europe. See, what you do in Europe, you manage the nature. That isn't correct. They want it wild. And there's an ideological difference. And it's nutty. I just don't really want to go off in too big of a rant and go out there. Hello, get good kids, son. How you doing? Stop global warming. Well, the globe. I'm more global warming. Where the Earth is too cold. We need it warmer, people. We need global warming. These fucking, you got me on this, guys. Now these guys are fucking nuts. We need some global warming, please. Thank you. We are not yet up to the temperatures of the Middle Ages, the Middle Age warm period, and we're not up to the temperatures that were there during the Roman Empire. We went through, during the Dark Ages, there was a mini ice age, and then during the Renaissance, there was also significant ice cap increase up in here, and they talk about, oh, well, you look at 1900 ice, glaciers, and then you come here at, from photos of literally like 1900 or 1910, and then you look at 2010, and the ice is all retreated. Yeah, the ice is all retreated, and you know what they found under the ice? They found fucking Viking homes, okay? So when the Middle Ages, the Vikings were living in Greenland, it was green, and they found homes with what they can only determine to be pastures because of the animal bones that they found out there that they were grazing on green grass. Okay, under the glaciers, they found Viking homes that had animals that were farming and animals grazing on green grass, horses or whatever, okay, or cattle that the Vikings brought out to here that are not natural in Greenland. Okay, we need to go back to that level of warmth. Yes, it is retreat of the northern ice cap. Now, you do know, people, now maybe it's the Nazi secret Antarctica base, but it's the ice cap is growing bigger and bigger and bigger down in Antarctica. It is getting much bigger in Antarctica while it's retreating in the northern hemisphere. So we need to go back to the Middle Ages warm, or the sort of Roman Empire classical warm period. So some more global warming, and even the global warming alarmists say, yeah, a few more degrees would be good for humanity, but after that it's going to get terrible. Well, they project that it's going to just keep going more and more, there's going to keep rising up when we've been doing less and less polluting. So more global warming would be good for humanity. It'll put us back to better growing temperatures in much of the environments for humanity, for more food, better conditions. We need some more global warming to get to the Middle Age warm period, or the classical era warm period. So that's what we need to do. Not reason stuff, because many societies are not adapted to it right now, because it was never it get good. It was warmer in the Middle Ages and in the Roman era. It was warmer then. We need to go back to that. I think it was 1903, before before the Industrial Revolution was the last frost fair in London on the Thames River. The last time it froze over enough to do, and that was like a 200-year-old or more tradition of frost fair that they would set up on the frozen over Thames River at London. And I think it was 1903 was the last one, or it's within a few years of that, before the Industrial Revolution, before the population boom, that we saw significant warming back then. It has nothing to do with man's activity globally. Now, it might regionally be human activity, but globally, no. And we want it warmer than it is now. So that would be good. Romans grew grapes in northern England 2,000 years. Well, also the Middle Age period. There was that. Hello, VS or VLSG. How you doing? I thought it was American Society in the 30s. Yeah, I know, but they got me off onto this other thing. And so, yeah, I'm not saying that there won't be hardships for some peoples on the planet, but fuck it. There's hardships, There's a lot more people dying in Ethiopia right now due to war than they're dying in Ukraine, and nobody fucking cares. Okay? There's more people dying in Ethiopia due to war and bullets and bombs right now. And it's affecting, I think, a larger population, though I don't know population levels for sure. But a large millions of people, tens of millions of people in Ethiopia in the Tigray war that's going on right now and was going on before Ukraine happened. Now, I understand Ukraine is scary to people because it could burst out into world war, and it's also near many of your homes. But nobody cared about people dying in Ethiopia. So you don't care about people dying in Ethiopia. You don't care about people dying in Somalia. So why the fuck do you care about some people living out in the Andaman Islands that might go under the water? You really don't care. It's just the greenies' excuse. Oh, well, there's 3,000 people out here on this island that may die, or they'll have to move to somewhere else. Okay, so we move them. We move all 3,000 or 30,000 people, and we pay and buy land in India and give them land in India. And that'll be 0.1% amount of money that you would have to spend on that versus all of the money you need to try to spend to keep the climate from changing. So it would be cheaper just to help the damn marginalized people somewhere than it would be to try to solve the improvement of the weather for 80 to 90% of the world's population. You hear that? 80 to 90% of the world's population, the weather is going to get better. Weather patterns will be better. Weather patterns might be good enough so that North Africa could be, the coastal North Africa, not deep Sahara, but coastal North Africa might get a bit greener, get a bit wetter, support more people living there. Okay? That might be an outcome of this. But no, they don't want to worry about it's going to be better for all these people, and we can easily pay the money to help the marginalized people that are going to go underwater in their island. No, we've got to spend more money and do something that we don't even know is achievable because they claim it's a man and it's an industry that's causing this when it's clearly not, because it's happened before. The trend was already in that direction prior to the Industrial Revolution. And so that is why that this is all so bad. And I know it's American 30s, but you guys got me off on this. It's your fault, chat. They damage Russia. Well, there's a lot of humor. Well, thank you, VLSG Wargaming. So yeah, it'll be impossible to live around the equator, resulting in a mass. No, Beam Slam, it will not be, because I do not believe the temperatures will significantly change at the equator. Okay? My understanding of the situation Now, I could be wrong, but my understanding, the temperatures are changing up here, not down here. What I understand is they're worried about all this melting up here. Now, if you melt all the ice that's sitting over the water, that is not going to change the water levels, because that ice, although it's floating above the other water, okay, it's floating above the other water, but what it's doing is, when it's floating above the other water, it's pushing the other water down. So you take a glass, pour some ice into it, big chunks of ice, so that there's a lot of air in there, and then pour in other water and make it level, and you'll notice as the ice melts, the water stays the same level, okay? So it won't change level. Now, the ice melting over land, Greenland or something, that would go into the ocean, absolutely, the parts that are over it. But Antarctica is growing bigger. I really think we're seeing not so much a global warming, but a northern hemisphere warming. I do not have good, and I don't know of good old data. Well, Greta Thunberg doesn't know anything. So it's going to the southern hemisphere. We do not have. There are very few societies that are southern hemispherical and are old. The Inca, because right here is the equator comes right through sort of here. This isn't exactly properly lined. North America and South America should be more to the south. They don't do this map right, and they know it, because the equator comes right through here through the Congo, but it's also sort of northern Brazil. It's not quite lined up. So it was the Inca culture that was down here during the Renaissance, when the Spaniards showed up. That was the only properly developed culture, that maintains historical records of any sort. And of course, most of those records are destroyed. There's more ancient groups down here, like the people that made the Nazca lines and some other city builders that way predate the Inca, but we just know too little about them. And obviously, other than the Great Zimbabwe, which I also think is sort of a Renaissance era stone building situation, there really is no civilization, what we would call civilization. There are, because civilization has the word city in it. They're really not cities down here. There's societies, but no civilization. And again, we have little or no pre-Renaissance civilizations down here that can measure temperatures and whatnot. So most all of human society, because the Maya were here, but they were long gone when Columbus came here. It was the Aztecs that were the empire here. But most all of human societies are north of the equator. India, China, Indochina, Japan, Europe, the Fertile Crescent, whatever, Egypt. Those are all northern hemispherical ones. And so we don't have, hello, War Daddy. So we don't have good records. Where we do have good records of, like, in the Middle Ages, growing grapes in northern England, not in hothouses and things, that we have records that you can't do practically, at least not good grapes, in the northern climates in Britain today, but they could in the Middle Ages. And we have some other records of things like that in the past. So, for the northern hemisphere. So we have relatively good information for the northern hemisphere. We have very bad information for the southern hemisphere. And I truly do believe it is not so much global warming or global cooling. It is a shifting between hemispheres. But I, wasn't there and not everywhere, so I'm not sure. The main problem with global climate change is high Earth population, especially in Europe, countries with... Europe has a low population. What are you talking about? this picture here, literally this picture here, includes approximately approximately half this picture here. Doesn't even need all of India, and it's really, quite honestly, it's a little bit more like, I'm trying to be a little more sensitive, right? Like a little bit more like this. This picture here, maybe slightly lower down here in Indonesia, but this sort of picture here is literally half of the world's population. Actually, I think you can almost define it down into something like, South China into Bangladesh, whatever. Half of the world's population is here. So, what do we have here that we're seeing? I don't know why we're seeing that. Okay. So yeah, Europe population is not high population density situation. Hello, Lawson Brady, how you doing? No problem. We're talking, about little ice ages and whatnot. And like I said earlier on, you can check my Twitter thing I posted, that from a 1950s magazine, published in 1953. They got a picture of the Manhattan Island, made a big, huge block. Mega doesn't even count for it, but mega sort of building in there. And in 1954, they said all of humanity could live in this building comfortably. Water management and whatnot would be a bit difficult for that size of a building even to this day. But the population is not the problem. Malthus was wrong. The Earth can support a huge more population than it does. We are not even knocking on the edges of stuff. I'll move to Pluto. Yeah, okay. Yes. Nothing natural and human altered. Okay. Hey, I think you should do yourself and everyone a favor by checking out Gravity Tactics when I say it's right up your alley. Yeah, I have the game. I played it just a tiny little bit and probably should play it a bit more. Checker has a density of, full realism. Okay, well, maybe I'll get over and see that at some point. Yes, thanks, Arno, for posting the Twitter channel up there. You can go see it. I posted that within the last day or so. So yeah, population density is not a problem. You go to like Hong Kong or Singapore, or some of these other places that these cities, Shenzhen, and this sort of area here. Those population densities get wild, but it's not really that bad. People want to live in a rabbit houses like condition Earth can support, but there are costs for that. But another thing I've read, that if this the Big Island was flat, it's very mountainous, so you can't do this. But if this was flat, humanity could just easily all of it stand. This is not building any multi structures and just stand. Not there. All of humanity could just stand right on the Big Island of Hawaii. And so if this was, again, flat, and you were to build a bunch of modern high-tech apartments, buildings, and blah, 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 you could easily house all of humanity on the Big Island of Hawaii. I mean, it's food, and we're getting better at farming the oceans. Farming, I'm not saying overfishing. I mean, actually growing food in the oceans. We're getting better at that. And we're getting better and better land management, so we can support so many more people. And thank you, Arna. Okay, so yeah, that's my rant on the ideology of global warming, and it's so terrible when even they say, well, for the next few degrees warmer, it would actually be better for humanity, but if it keeps going, it'll get bad. Well, I don't think, one, we have any control over it. Oh, and also, there is a way to deal with this global warming, and I think the plan is to have Russia fix global warming by creating a nuclear winter. So don't worry about global warming. You'll glow in the dark if you live, but we'll all be dark because we'll have ash clouds above us from nuclear winter if you live. So that will deal with the global warming. We'll just nuke ourselves. So yeah, don't have to worry too much about it. See, we could always have gotten rid of global warming whenever we want to. The U.S. could do it. You just push a few buttons. Boom, boom, boom. Global cooling. We could try even to target non-populated areas to create, global cooling. We don't have to blow up cities. We could blow up that. Have you listened to Dan Carlin? I don't know who Dan Carlin is right offhand. Brady. Hello, SM Emmer Hasma. Don't quite get your what you posted there, but hello. I really only read English, but thank you for watching. Believing humanity is doomed because the weather changes you find odd. Yeah. I don't know. Dan Carlin is great. Yeah, I don't know who he is. Don't know if that's a YouTuber or somebody else entirely. That. Okay. History podcast. There's no consensus at all. Yeah, I agree. There isn't consensus. It is not driven by climate change, but it will be a lot of different words. I don't think so. I think, like I say, if we get to Middle Age warm or Classical era warm, I think it will be a great place to live in. But hey, you live in Denmark, so why would you care? It'd be nicer there. Right. Okay. Well, we looked at the my idea starting out with why I'm putting a carrier with each of these battleship divisions. Get back to the game here, and after this long rant, hopefully it was entertaining. We will continue our forward progress in getting to that coal processing technology. Good. We've been under on coal, though we've increased the number of coal mines, if you will, or however they're labeling it. 1522. Yeah, I think we'll come in. Let's make sure. Yeah, we could do. Let's do heavy cruiser armor thickness. Keep our heavy cruisers heavy. Hey Gus, how you doing? Good to have you here. More violent weather and lots of buildup. Areas flooded. Well, I don't think that that's what's going to happen. Like I say, I believe the southern ice cap is growing equal to, if not greater than the northern ice cap is freezing. Okay, okay, so we've lost in low popularity. That's good. Capital bulkheads layout advance. Now I could be all wrong about this, but They said that we had 10 years to do something about this, or 20 years to do something about this, 30 years ago. So it's too fucking late by their own sort of thing. So let's stop worrying about it. We had our chance to do it. We failed. So let's just go on. Okay. You know, when you run up and down the street yelling, pot is terrible, pot is terrible. If you smoke pot, your life is going to be ruined. Your life is going to be ruined. And a bunch of people smoke pot and their life isn't ruined. They stop believing you when you say, well, if you take this crystal meth, it's going to ruin your life because your teeth are going to fall out and you're going to die. Well, they're right about one and they're wrong about the other. So alarmists do their cause great injury. They've been climate alarmists for so fucking long that they said we've had 10 years, we've got to start doing all this stuff for 10 years, and we haven't started doing it. So it's already too late, and that was 30 years ago. So F it. So I can't believe you. I'm not talking about you, Beam Slam. I'm just talking about the alarmists out there. The last one you saw was on 8.4. I think the world would be warmer, but also wet if the sort of became green once it reduced. Yeah, well, it's weather patterns. I don't know how it's going to affect North Africa. North Africa was greener. My hypothesis for a long time on North Africa has been the Arab conquest has devastated the environment there. But the Arab conquest, well, it was during. It sort of becomes devastated after the Arab conquest. And was it because of that, or was it because really of the weather patterns changing in the Renaissance mini ice age? I'm not sure. It might be. The capital ship bulkheads. I don't want to stop anything to this. Okay, it's grayed out. Good. And we have a little bit more, so we'll also do heavy cruiser bulkhead land and heavy cruiser horizontal protection while our medium popularity lasts. Yeah, and I live not quite in sight of the ocean, but I'm a little bit on a rise, but not by much. But very near. I live in a city with the name beach in it along this part of the coast here. So yeah, I live very coastally in the Pacific Ocean. Okay, so small news, small entertainment, or news and politics. Which ones do we want to pick here? Okay. Okay. Well, I think we're going to do news and politics just because we want the ruling party support. But we're going to wait, get a little more money for that. Well, the Vandals were they were more in the Dark Ages, where the Arabs were coming, I think, more the Middle Ages. And so, I mean, they get as the Renaissance is happening, because the Renaissance is, of course, triggered by the evacuation from, Byzantium. So not just Constantinople, but Byzantium. Okay, new monumental. Copper surplus, we're down a little bit because we sold it. User hole shape optimization advance. In advance. What do you think of? Well, it's been a long time since I played Hoi 4 Black Ice. The last time I played Hoi 4 Black Ice, I raged quit. I am looking forward to, once they do the Black Ice and incorporate railroads and get rid of the silly effects that they had for when invading the Soviet Union because of crazy supply stuff that now should be handled by the railroads and not by their effects. If they keep those goddamn effects in, it'll get me to rage quit again. But I liked what they were doing because of the rage quit. Got me over to playing World Ablaze instead of Hoi 4 Black Ice. Some of the stuff they've been doing with Hoi 3 Black Ice I have not been pleased with, but it's generally, I think, a little better on it. Planets in the solar system. Yes, the world. Hello, Stephen. And it's getting worse, yes. Trump voting 4x4 drivers. Yeah, well, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I'm hoping they do a good update for Black Ice with No Step Back. Because you can see I was ranting and raving how once I got one province into the Soviet Union border, all these negative effects were affecting me whenever I was attacking, and I just rage quit. I don't even remember all the details of what it is, but you can go back and watch the episodes, the end of the series, and agree with me or disagree with me. And I even at the time said the effects that they were giving me here, I expected out here. But they were there. Now they should get rid of all of them because you now have the railway system to handle that, to handle the lack of supply. And so if you have a railway system that's running right and you set it up, yeah, you'll be able to have huge amounts of supply way deep into here and supply huge multi-armored cores charging off here with no problem at all if you have the rail system done right. If you don't, you can't. So hopefully they get rid of all their effects and I'll be happy and play it again. But we'll have to see. I haven't heard that they've released it for No Step Back. They might have, but that was weeks or a month or two ago since I last looked. But if it comes out, you had the same issue with Barbarossa. Yeah, I love the rail. Yeah, see, rail and infrastructure in Hoi 4. So this is. I complain about a lot of stuff with Hoi 4. I mean, I complain a lot of stuff about Hoi 3 too, so don't get me wrong. It's not that one is perfect and the other is terrible. No, I complain equally about both. But there's good progress on Hoi 4, which I do like. So, it's not one's great and the other's terrible. It's just, there's good and bad in both of them. Hello, Toyjet. Oh, everyone, Sir Toyjet here on Twitch. I'm not sure whether he's a Russian spy or he escaped from Russia. Which is it, Toyjet? Are you a Russian spy or did you escape from Russia? Because I recently saw a nice infographic that the only nation that has ever trained belugas to be, underwater warriors was Russia. And so I'm thinking you were part of one of these Russian programs and you either are a Russian spy in Norway or you escaped your Russian captivity and you got to Norway. So I'm not sure which it is. No, this is only recently they've been doing beluga training, so your ancestors aren't old enough. So yeah, I think I don't know. You may be a Russian beluga spy, spying on us. Industrial zone organization is advanced. Very nice. Okay, yeah, we'll continue that. I know it's 39. We're only in 38, but it's not too far in advance. And torpedo boats. Don't know if we're going to build any for America, but oh, we can do destroyers now. Yes, we will. Okay, South Africa would like to produce. Yes, you can buy a submarine. A submarine on our models. Colombia, no. We can use trade, but I'm not going to trade with Colombia. Okay, we are sort of waiting to do those. Here, just get a little more money stored up. Okay, nav tactics advance. Naval air tactics advance. Yeah, 39. We'll do naval strike tactics. And warhead infusing. That's a submarines. And Great War analysis, which is here. And that's maxed out, right. Continue. Hey, Toy Jet, we are building lots. We're going to be building, and we are building lots and lots of Navy. Lots of ships. Big fleets of ships. Float plane, scout. Now let's stick with trying to do a little more. Maybe we've got it. Okay, we could do medium light anti-carrier, anti-armament. Well, sort of like a dolphin, but with a big melon on his head. Now we all know, just so you know, Toy Jet is insane. So yes, you can have crude. It won't last long. We can't afford much of that. But yes, Toy Jet is insane. He also doesn't believe Denmark exists, but yeah, that tells you the level of insanity he has. Cast ground crew training. No, I haven't been doing enough of that. Maybe. Okay. Well, we've been doing quite a bit. Okay. Let's move over to fighter pilot. Means passed down to my parents, the Soviet eugenics. Able to hear and identify everything from Los Angeles to Trafalgar and even close to us. So it means how old is he? Russians been training dolphins for killing people ages ago. It was part of port protection system. Yeah, that was sort of the belugas were doing that too. The U.S. uses, I think, only uses sea lions for. Well, they also maybe do some dolphins, but for looking for objects on the bottom of the ocean. No, not with Colombia. Giant infrastructure projects have advanced. Very nice. And that is here. No. Yes. Okay. Now, like I did say in the talking about America in the 30s, waiting for another event for me to comment on. Okay, the RCA strike. In 1936, Camden's RCA workers walked off their jobs and won serious gains after an extremely volatile and violent strike. The strikes were short-lived, however. New plants opened in Indiana in 36. 1940, 42, and by 52 there were only 700 consumer electronics jobs remaining in Camden. Okay, RCA is in the phonograph back then. You may remember the dog looking into the the speaker, hearing its master's voice on the speaker. I think that's RCA, I do believe. So yeah, workers' rights. Okay, revolt in Camden. Let's go to Camden. Okay. So we have a revolt in Camden. Again, I think these are silly. Not the events and not a negative production efficiency, but just that there's revolts. When they say violent, nobody died in that thing, I do believe, and there was no military involvement. Okay, twin engine bomber crew layouts. Well, let's do gun turrets. Gun turrets are cool. BBs, CVs. Well, we're going to do both. Gramophone. Yeah. Hello, Cold Steel. That would be right. Gramophone. Okay. Yeah. Got a lot to possibly do here now. I'm waiting for another one of those. Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for. Just another. Okay, we won that. Secretary of Public Information. Here, stop that. And guidance advance, which I believe are torpedoes. Yes. Okay, so we come down here and get ground crews up to date a bit more. Now that we have a bit more money, these shouldn't be huge. Gold mine online. Oh, ooh, that's going to lose Gold and Rapid City by 1. Okay, well, let's start with news and politics. That's the one we're going to do. And then we're going to come out. We're going to come to diplomacy. Oh, well, let's look and see what we have. I sort of could do it on just knowing, but here. Okay, we have major movie studio that was given to us, and that should be, meaning at the start. And we did advanced education. That should always be the first one, because if you're going to do it, you might as well get the leadership early in at the beginning. Okay, Imperial Finance Ministry Gold. Don't know that we really want to do that. Money, well, we're doing pretty good with money. We could do the ruling party support, but Volt risk down, that would be the J. Edgar Hoover building, as it were. There is a building called that still. Ruling party support. Imperial seat of government was probably the thing, because we don't really need foreign ministry. Wouldn't be bad, and we're not yet at war, so we don't need a war ministry. So yeah, we're going to do imperial seat of government. Imperial seat of government. That's the one. And that will cost us 1,000. Gain 3 in descent. Or this. What? How's things going? Things are going all right. Cold Steel. And I don't know, Steve Rollinson, what or this, but okay. Okay, yes. So now we have that, which should help our ruling party support and leadership, and does so. Yay. Those are all being researched. Those could be. We can get these. Though I really do try to do. Well, you know what we can do, which will get us some HQs to drop around the place, which will help with revolt risk a bit. We'll do motorized. We'll also do new projects. So cool down happens. Super DDs are armed with guns. Don't know if quite going to go that big. Okay, Great War Demonstration. The Great War Demonstration is held today in the capital. Tens of thousands of people cheered. Cabinet members and members of the opposition as they all met to speak in public at today's event. The head of government, I think this is just a random thing, because they are not mentioning any actual personalities, announced that this country will never again accept such evil as those that took place during the last year. Head of state also told the people to rally behind the government. Okay, well, it's Great War Manifestation until May 12th, 1938, so it's just for a month here, it looks like. Well, okay, ruling party support national revolt risk down is very good, and propulsion advance, which is great, which unlocks all of that. Tungsten, who with? Who with? Netherlands. Okay, we can use the money. Okay, rare material techniques, said high density alloys, which will move that to there. And now with that other extra money, I think we will do gold by 1 in Rapid City. Can we easily, I think Rapid City is out here somewhere. Well, let's look for Rapid City. No, what am I, RAP, not in the R's. Gamer can't spell. If you didn't know, gamer can't spell. Yeah. Blank on things for some reason. I don't know why. PI. There we are. Man, I don't know. For some reason, I get confused on these things. Here we are. Okay, Rapid City, which gets us this gold out here. So we struck gold. Everyone, AU. There we go. Okay, good for that. For some reason, I get things mixed up. I have a mild form of dyslexia. I know. So, okay, battleship armor thickness, which is probably hopefully grayed out. Okay. Could do medium anti-air artillery for battleships. Okay, carrier screws. Out. Okay, most everything here is either up to date or being researched on for actual structural elements of carriers. So let's do mountain HQs next. Now, what does Costa Rica want? Yes, crude oil, you can have it. Okay, small, okay, 2,000 money down. Yes, I hate this. What they're doing with money for paying ships. Okay. Hey, oh, shit. I forgot to move that over. Don't know if I moved it. Forgot to put the localization files. This, Germany has decided, this is IG Farben. This you're seeing here, again, I didn't move the localization file over because I quickly did it, quickly put some stuff together and I just forgot to move it over. So the event name and the event description aren't here. But this is the notification that's in, you normally see it on the, when you play with Third Reich events, my mod for Germany, there, does Germany want to continue doing business with America, with Standard Oil? What they were doing was working on synthetic rubber. Now, IG Farben was also working for synthetic oil, but America didn't care. Standard Oil didn't care about synthetic oil because they had more than enough oil. But they did really want to do synthetic rubber. So Detroit, Motor City, Detroit, will get 5 rare materials, synthetic rubber plant, basically in essence, and 250 gold, not that much, and 500 supplies, not that much. Basically, benefits from doing business with Germany. So we get that. So here we now have much more rare materials coming up to there, so that will be good. Okay, so we're going to get support territorial ride. Okay, carrier rudder. That'll be grayed out. There was a lot of okay, grayed out, yes, and twin engine armament. Let's continue with, well, we got a lot of these to do, but let's, since these are way back in 37, let's see about getting some of the 37 technologies there. There was a lot of business and research being done between Germany and America. Now, but you got to still picture this, and I say a lot of it, but nothing to the scale that we see today with global trade. There is so much global trade going on that I think, well, if any government is being rational and not being ideological, and I'm not just saying the left here, because traditionally in America on the right, they were globalists. Well, not really globalists, but they believed, ideologically believed, that competition is good, or all competition is good, and that just because you're importing T-shirts either from China or now the new country is to import them, I believe, from Bangladesh. China got too expensive and Bangladesh is cheaper. That American industry would just find a way to make T-shirts cheaper than China or Bangladesh. They ideologically believe that. And what they didn't account for, and it really hits like America with steel industry, because America is steel central in the 1930s and definitely in the 1940s, is making globally, I'm sure, the most steel out of anybody. And maybe the most steel compared to everybody. I'm sure no one is making more steel than America in the 1940s, and before America gets into the war and during the war. I'm sure America is making more steel than anybody else, and maybe even more than everybody combined. I don't know about that second part, but definitely more than anybody else. But it's an older steel industry, and Japan's steel industry gets largely destroyed. Germany's steel industry gets largely destroyed. And then there are rebuilding efforts, including by America, for Japan and Germany. But there's also rebuilding efforts after the Korean War in Korea to build steel industries up. And America's steel industry is out of date, so it's not very efficient. It is also highly unionized, so not only is it difficult to, say, fire a particular employee, it's also very difficult to cut back on employees. Because if you employ 1,000 workers at this plant, they don't want you putting in a new process that only needs 500 workers, because that means 500 jobs lost. So they're all going to strike. We've been seeing these events about strike. So we're all going to strike. Got to protect the jobs. Now, yes, that's the union's interest, is to protect jobs. But what happens if you protect all of the jobs so that none of the jobs are protected, meaning the company goes out of business? You protected the jobs until everybody lost their job. Now, my understanding from watching things, YouTube videos and such, that China highly subsidized the government, its steel industry, and they export steel. And why would they do that? Well, if you export steel cheaper than other companies, you can put other companies out of business in other countries, and once they're out of business, then there's maybe not only one place, but there are fewer places to get it, so they can raise their steel prices up, and they now strategically, as in national competitions, whether you go to war or not, isn't the point, but strategically you control resources, and economically you can make a lot of money because you can now raise the prices. I believe also Germany, the government subsidizes the steel industry so that it's competitive to the rest of the world. Now, they, I believe, are to some degree trying to put others out of business, yes, but I also believe it's just to be able to pay German workers a lot of money, or good money, to make to compete in the steel industry worldwide, because they value it. So when America refuses to either put tariffs or other import restrictions on steel, and refuses to, because of ideological lines for the first part, as well as the second part, refuses to subsidize the steel industry, not only does it fail because it's lack of modernization, it fails because it's unfair competition. Not, well, the world, it should be fair. No, it's the idea that if everybody else out in the world decides we're going to give free steel away at half price, not free, but half price. Everybody half price. We'll sell steel to you half price. Every country out there except for America, what's going to happen? All of the steel is going to shut down in America because it can't compete. It just can't. There is just no way that it's going to compete. So you destroy the American steel industry, and that's what's happened. I mean, it's somewhat recovered, but it's not anywhere where it should be. So it's not the global market that it is today back then, but there's still a lot of trade. And so when I talk about ideology, putting ideology over reality, yes, there should be competition on steel internationally. The U.S. should feel it. But they also need to go, well, if we're not producing at least, 40% of the steel used in America, we have a problem, gentlemen, or ladies and gentlemen. We have a problem. We need to produce at least 40% of our steel. So if for some reason, whether it's shutting down a country because of a disease appearing in your country, China right now, or whether it's some war out there cutting off international trade, not really happening with Russia on steel, but out there that we can't control. At least we would have a steel industry that would keep essential progress going, and maybe you would then adjust up in your steel production. And you got to understand too, banks are important. I know banks get blamed for everything because they're the money people and blah blah blah, capitalists, socialists, or the socialists and communists complain about the capitalists, but banks are important. What banks do is allows you to go and look and say, hey, I need to build or rebuild or renovate my steel mill, and if I do this, I'll be able to pay back this loan over 20 years, over 30 years, because if I wait for 20 or 30 years and save up the money to rebuild the steel mill, I'll go out of business because we won't be here in 20 years. So we need to build, do something to make steel in a more modern and efficient way. This could have been like back in 1960 or something. They should be able to say this. But what the problem was is when you go into the bank, right, Mr. Steel, mega steel billionaire or whatever, the company, not necessarily the individual. Right. Well, how do we know you're going to be in business? Because the government's saying that they won't protect you, and you're being flooded by cheap steel from, back then it wasn't China, but from Japan or from Germany or Korea or wherever. You're being flooded by steel. How do we know that you're going to be in business? You need surety at that sort of scale. So you need the idea of, like, the U.S. government could say, well, we're going to buy X amount of steel to build ships, warships or whatever, or tanks or whatever it is, or we're gonna pass a law that says all railways in America, all the rails will need to be made with steel made in America, or something like that. To go, well, look at that, we have this market. We may not sell steel for automakers because that's not being protected, but this other thing is you need a surety for an industry, and but now on the other hand, the problem is that if you completely protect the steel industry, protectionism, the unions used to like that because it protected American jobs, but protectionism will keep lack of innovation, lack of, well, why do we need to, change the way we make steel? Because if we change the way we make steel like they do in Germany, we're only going to need 500 instead of 1,000 workers or whatever it is at this plant. And so the unions will be upset with us. And we're protected, so let's just keep making the money. And, let's not invest in new stuff until it truly, and it's old style, so it's probably built so it would never fall apart. So it'd probably work forever. So why would we want to do this? Well, it's, because we're too protected. So protectionism is wrong on the other scale. So you need a balance between competition, but managed in a way that whether it's natural things, simply like lack of environmental controls in some countries, or wages are dramatically lower, not just at the tip of the spear, say the steel workers' wages, but when that steel worker goes to buy a house, the local people that are building the house are paid much less, and when he goes into a local restaurant, they're paid much less, and the farmers pay. So the whole economy can operate on a lot less money than comparatively in America or a more developed nation. So some of it may be natural competitive variances as opposed to artificially subsidizing an industry. So you need to come and look at this. So all the ideologues on the right or on the left, however you want to do it, need to do good management. And so in this, again, get back to the 30s, and early 40s, before it enters the war. Germany and the U.S. have some similar goals, and one of the goals is for Germany to pay back the money that it borrowed from the U.S. Because you have to remember, World War I ends. The victors say, you started the war, Germany, you owe us money for all the damages you did. And I think it's reasonable. And so Germany's going, but, oh yeah, here we got a bunch of Reichsmarks. No, we don't want your old Reichsmarks. We don't want your new, whatever they changed, or whatever they called them during the Weimar Republic's era. I don't know. We don't want your paper money. We want pounds sterling. We want U.S. dollars. We want French francs, or we want gold or silver. Germany's going, but we don't have any of that. Well, the American banks, as well as other industries that put money into banks, made a lot of money in World War I. So they had a lot of money sitting around. So America goes, hey, Germany, we'll loan you the money so that you can pay your war indemnities to the victors, including to the U.S., but heavily to places like Belgium, like France, like Britain. And so long as you pay us back. So the U.S. is trying through this Depression era to keep its loans being paid back, so that the U.S. financial system doesn't collapse more. So they're trying to keep all of this going on with each other. And it's important. And they're talking about tulips and whatnot. I don't know. Okay. So, yeah, I think this is, I know we haven't gotten very far. Hopefully it's been interesting ranting about things. We will be continuing live here, so don't get worried about that. But everyone else who's watching later on YouTube, I know it's easier for you in smaller chunks, so trying to keep it that way. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking. See you next time for even more, more Hearts of Iron. Okay, guys, yes, we will continue this. I'm going to go grab a Ricola. Yes, and I will be right back, and we can continue to get towards the greatest war, or the whatever, however you want to call it, greatest doesn't, that mankind has ever known. It really is. So be right back in just a moment. All right. Let's see about continuing this. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here. I almost said 1714. 1745 here. We're going to continue with our American playthrough. And we're already having these events pop up, or text. Okay, carrier hull shape optimization. Hull shape optimization there. One cruiser, no carrier. Oh, hangar, not hull. Boy, I should read better. Okay. Carrier hangar, which is right there. Okay, good. Well, we could start on these, I think, with that. Yeah, radar stations. We'll do radar stations. And since we need to unlock a bunch of these other things, let's get radios going better. Aluminum. Well, we could use more money, but who is it with? Poland. Okay. We'll do that. The capital ship armor. Those big gun battleships out there. Okay, aluminum surplus down, selling to Poland. CAG fighter focus. Over to torpedo bomber. Cuba, no. Okay. Nuclear fission theory. So we've got Einstein. He's figured out nuclear fission. Isotopes. We're going to wait on that. Commander decision. That's down in. Okay, we got just some other things I think I want to focus more on here. Well, over here, I think. Right. Fighter and flying boat. Yes, got Einstein. He's figured out some of the stuff. To the best of my knowledge, Einstein really didn't work on the Manhattan Project directly. I'm just trying to go from what I vaguely remember, but he definitely contributed some of the basic theory behind some of it, I think, that others sort of worked on in more detail. Okay, we got volunteer surge, great, cool. Carrier armor thickness. Read out, fine, good. Naval bombers. Party rally, yes, party rally. Have the Hulk, yeah. Freeman and Fermi were working on that. Okay. Yeah, you're sort of losing me on the detail there. I do not know much. I've seen a few documentaries on the whole Manhattan Project, but just lost some of the details on it. A lot of it from the things, quite honestly. Damage control, okay. too far in advance. Let's move up here. Action good. Hello, Lawless. How are you this evening? Damage control. Damn. Seeing it, but probably just because I'm looking in the wrong areas. Probably grayed out, maybe. Catapult, closed hanger, carrier. I like to find these just so I know what I'm doing. Damage control. I know this is slowing everything up. Maybe I don't have to. One of the things I'm okay. See, it is still here. Okay. Okay. Wrong protection. It's just like, oh, well, it's over here. See, this is why I'm not seeing it because it's over here. See, it's over here. I wasn't entirely blind. I was just not looking at the right page. Okay, we're gonna wait a little more to invest in our industry or something. Okay, gold mining. Okay, now we're getting 13 instead of 1200. 1300 money. We have another gold mine. Just got a bunch of industry. Pause. Okay, let's trade who? South Africa aluminum. Okay. Okay, one of our copper sales has expired. Fine. Okay, cruiser engine and boilers advance. 41. Yep, that's too far. Sure. There we go. And we now are overproducing. Yeah. Use some of these inferior industrial centers. Detroit, we now have 13 here, so let's do another rares extraction. That's coming online for more, but it's not one of our bigger. Another coal to help that out. Do some more coal there. Lovely coal, yes. Coal is a great material. Ooh, lots of oil there. So we will do both an industry and a heavy industry there in Houston. Okay, so that will be considerable amount of industry and coal and all that good stuff. We want to produce lots and lots of things, and to produce lots and lots of things, we need lots and lots of industry. And that just works right. Okay, now back to technology. Just one more, but we have a slot for. Yeah. And we have invested industry here. 10,000 money. Okay, we got 15,000, so I think we can afford that. Now that I think, no, it doesn't drop. Well, I was thinking that maybe put some more in the. I'll let that continue, I guess. Will this be under carriers? Yes, right there. Okay, and we'll put training. Well, we can make that carrier protection and move it to there. Anthracite coal is actually very pretty. Yeah, it can be carved, I know. There are bulkheads. Out battle cruiser. Armor looks like. Okay, there's a battle cruiser armor thickness. We'll let that continue. Oh, we got to do the carrier bulkheads to something else. Well, let's come over here and do 4-engine armor. Yes. Okay, so that's good, I guess. We could do bomber or CAG bomber focus. What did I click away there? Let's see. That was low popularity. Through horizontal. Okay, CAG through training, which I'll do it there. That would have been oh CAG through training. Okay, well we're getting rid of that. Medium popularity, low. We're down to low popularity again. Okay, the Littoral. Okay, expand our light aircraft factories. Grand Rapids and tank for factories in Grand Rapids. One of our tungsten sales has expired. Fine. All right. Maybe just don't burn it. Nothing. You guys just want to get me into another rant about the environment, right? Is that what you're trying to do? Nothing wrong with burning coal. There's all kinds of ways to burn it so it doesn't pollute significantly. Coal is a great store of energy. Energy is important. We want to keep going 20. Yeah, 38. Yeah, I guess we do. Mountain unit training. Yeah, I guess we'll continue that. El Salvador, yes, you can have rare materials. An engine ground crew, which I think we're going to let go. Artillery firepower focus, though. Let's check that out. Yeah, that's too far advanced. And heavy cruiser armament. I know you like gamers rants, but come on, I gotta get through some of this. Yeah, armament. Oh, okay, so heavy cruiser armament grayed out. Fine. Well, let's come over here and get configurated support advanced. Nice. And amphibious unit training. I know where a lot of these are. Played this game a bunch, but they're still, well, okay, we got all those, these four up here. Gates, infantry, and infantry. Let's debunk climate change. Yeah, I could. I've thought about doing other topics. I've saved a bunch of like infographics and whatnot that talk about different warming and cooling periods in history. I'm not sure why all of the warming and cooling there. So, but it's something I would prepare Army Unit Training Advance, or I should do it so that I not just guessing at what I'm saying, have some facts in front of me. And I would be happy with a few of you wanting to present counter arguments, because I know I don't know everything. But you see, I don't know if you guys would rather have me periodically rant about things or me just saying, go watch this other episode thingy over here instead, No, we're talking pilot. Yeah, 38. Let that continue. Okay, Japan annexes the People's Republic of China. Yay, get rid of the commies. And just so you know, I know a few people have complained about what happens here with Japan and China. That Japan kicks butt. And Japan wasn't able to do that historically. But what happens if you have it sort of sit out here historically, Japan will build for the war in China, Japan will try to, though it has garrisons that are too big to move, but would move every single garrison, every single force from everywhere it can, every grand force to China, and then declare war in late 1941, declare war on America and the Western Allies, and have some scripted invasions with forces that, they magically appear, but they're just sort of supposed to be other forces that weren't engaged in China, meaning like sitting at home garrison or something like that. So the AI hasn't been used on them to come in there. And those scripted invasions might do all right, but they just won't build up the Navy. They just won't have enough garrison forces out here. They'll never garrison this stuff very strongly. So it'll be a walkthrough into the point that even with the scripted invasions, I should be able to hold Guam here and the Philippines, and then just invade Japan. They'll just invade Yokohama here and push up to Tokyo and conquer Japan, while all the army is sitting out here in endless battles with China. The AI will not rationally do this. There's been talk and attempts at sort of making a Manchukuo, Korea sort of different Japan, have two sort of Japans, and this one fighting here and this one at peace until it declares war on the United States, and then it's sort of the naval one. There's been attempts at that, but none of that's really worked out well. So to give, whether it's the AI or particularly the human, a challenge, they want to have the war in China done and dusted by 1940 or before. So the AI is just incapable of sort of doing this. You need a lot of videos and images to make a decent climate change video, 10 days of work. Well, it would be days of work. And see, I would look at it from a historical perspective, as opposed from a scientific perspective. Meaning, whether they're accurate or inaccurate, I'm not going to dispute scientific methods of, measuring the climate, the temperature change and or the rainfall change, because I think those are about the only two things you can practically measure. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you can sort of do humidity or something, but really it just sort of comes down to rainfall and climate. And what one of the things they look at is dendrochronology, meaning tree rings, basically. Well, I don't know that. I think tree rings, I don't know if they accurately tell temperature as opposed to water and whatnot. I don't know. And sunlight, and because you can have cloudy, warm days. So I don't know, it talks about a certain element of weather patterns. So, and then I have heard, I don't know if it's true, but I think in some cases, now maybe it's more the rare case, they'll put a temperature monitoring thing in a shall we say, outside of the edge of a major city. And then with urban sprawl over 30 or 40 years, I don't know if Paris has grown particularly, but enough, urban sprawl will grow out there, and then you have an environment that's more concrete and black roofs and other things that make it locally warmer than it was when it was farmland or non-agricultural, but rural environment, a forest or whatever. And so and these would maybe have been put by the roadside or something near to be checked, but sort of out in the green belt outside of a city, but the city is expanded, and they don't necessarily take into account for that. But let's just presume, I wouldn't argue against the overall scientific looks at temperature change. That wouldn't be the way I would look at it. It would be entirely looking at historical, meaning written evidence of temperatures in the past. Now, I know and you go back to the Middle Ages or the Roman period, they don't have temperature monitoring that is of a scale that we can calculate. But what they do have is the idea of growing grapes or something in northern Britain and other sort of environmental human records, meaning written records of environmental changes. When is there ice on the river Thames in winter or not? If you go, and I do not believe the river froze over during the Roman period. I do not believe that. I'd have to look. I mean, I may have to look or whatever, but I don't think there's any record of it freezing over. Not that there may be not ice chunks on it, but the idea that you can just march an army or camp an army on the ice, that it's that thick. I don't think there's any evidence of that in old Londinium. So when you look at those kinds of things, that type of record, and that's how I would argue that, yeah, there's regional northern hemisphere, because that's where we have the records of changes over time, and I would argue it based on that and not on the science of this, that, or the other thing, because I'm a historian and not a scientist. But I look at it. Let's see, tree rings are how they know England was hotter during the Roman times than it is now. Okay, but see, I don't know if that's hotter or just better access to water. Tree rings are yearly stuff that depends on the amount of sea rag and other factors. And I don't know how well that correlates to modern tree rings growth. Was more moisture that, yes, when the Romans got them, absolutely. And see, I don't know, and there's definitely descriptions of the Arabs coming into this part of North Africa, and they go after the Berbers and other, I think it's Numidians, not Nubians, but Numidians, Berbers, and other ethnic groups that are minorities left still to this day. But it's the Arab conquest, and they do some scorched earth tactics, at least reasonably well documented in a few cases, and just burning everything down, trees, forests, orchards, killing all of the livestock, because the Arabs, in some of these cases, they're not necessarily hugely larger populations than the local population, but they want to come in and they're militarily able to, with horses and some improved military tactics, are able to go after some of the local populations. But it's sort of a depopulation tactic, is sort of a scorched earth to depopulate the area so they don't have to govern it, occupy it, shall we say, with lots of occupation troops. So some of it's a military tactic. Also, I do believe, again, not sure, but I do believe some of the goats are more destructive on the environment than sheep. Those sheep are somewhat destructive, and cattle to a lesser degree, I think. But the herding culture of the Arab comes in. So I don't know how much it is different human destruction or different agricultural practices that increase desertification, or if it's correlation in that they're coming in during the Middle Ages, just as they're sort of being victorious and wrapping up here, and then they get pushed out of Spain, but they conquer over here, and then sort of the Renaissance is flourishing. If it's then that it just gets drier and stays that, so I don't know how much, but you're right, it was moisture then. So also realize when Beam Slam says corn, he doesn't mean maize, star streak. When you go yummy corn, corn is wheat. Okay, they did not have corn as we think of corn today in Europe during the Roman Empire. That's maize from the Americas, and it's post-Columbian. Columbus and others bring it back. It's small stubby things. It's highly genetically engineered. Even before we doing genes, just selective breeding of different strains of it that got it much bigger to big ears of corn that we know today. Later on, gene splicing and whatnot has changed it even more. But it's the maize. Corn just refers to grain, generally speaking, and not whether it's wheat or others. But so they have the corn dole and other things in ancient Rome, and they're referring to wheat basically, not to what we think of as corn from the Americas that comes into Europe. It was warmer here back then until around the end. Well, yeah, the Dark Ages are. Now, you see, why do we have the Dark Ages? Why is it called the Dark Ages? Well, part of it, for a few years, it actually gets dark. I forget where, but somewhere in the Northern Hemisphere, there's some major volcanic activity that puts up a big dust cloud in the stratosphere that actually it's not like it's nighttime during the day, but it's actually a bit darker for a few years. And I don't know if that is the trigger, because it doesn't last for that long. It doesn't last the length of the Dark Ages, and it's not dark the length of the Dark Ages. But there is a sort of a darkish period. They believe, partially from written descriptions, that people now actually believe it is a bit darker, but they've correlated to some volcanic incident. So that may trigger weather change patterns for the Dark Ages, but it gets colder then, and then in the sort of the medieval warm period gets warmer than the sort of Middle Ages and the High Middle Ages, just before the Renaissance starts. It gets warmer again, and then it goes into another sort of mini ice age in the Northern Hemisphere. So yeah, I know we're back on this kind of stuff when we talk about the Roman. Malaria was rampant in Italy. Oh yes, malaria was rampant in Italy. Now, malaria, and now Ragar, that I don't know how much malaria you're saying is because of climate change. Walachern. Am I saying that sort of right, Arno? Walachern, or whatever the sort of island, or was an island out here in this part of Walachern? I don't know. Out here. Arthur Wellesley, the Duke of who becomes the Duke of Wellington, brings an army in during the Napoleonic era, and basically gets sort of trapped on the island. And I think a lot of soldiers die because of malaria, because it's sort of swampland and the mosquitoes, not just, maybe also dysentery too, but so this is the 1790s that they're dying of malaria up here. Army in very big thing, but the warmer in Greenland until some point. The Norse settlers, it was warm. I mean, it was grass growing. I mean, it wasn't like tropical warm. It's very close. Okay, thanks, Wallakin. Yeah, I don't know exactly how to pronounce some of these. Yeah, see, I think it's a cyclical thing, and I don't know what always triggers it. I don't know whether it's shifting weather patterns, Gulf Stream out in the ocean, or the sort of air jet stream that sort of follows it around, that brings warm weather to northern Britain, or whether it's solar activity, not just solar flares, but more heat radiation, like the sun is sort of pulsing a little bit, heat radiation from the sun. I don't know if it's shifts in either how far we are away from the sun, or the angle tilt of the Earth to the sun. But I don't really believe much of it has anything to do with human activity. Now, local climate change, around a major city, yeah, sure, yeah, that whether it's like talked earlier about Edinburgh, lots of coal dust going up and around, and it's black under here with all the coal fires. Yeah, that's going to be local change, and you definitely can have local changes that are human, and that are maybe good or maybe bad. I'm not saying that there got to be change is going to necessarily be bad or necessarily be good. Yes, a bunch of pollutants dumped into the air is bad. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying other changes might be good, but you have to look at it that way. Yeah, and so I don't know why it happens, but I have enough evidence, in my mind at least, that says global warming happens in pre-industrial, or when there's industry in the Roman era. Yes, absolutely, but as a percent of human activity, it is minuscule. Mobile Unit Combined Arms Advance. Mobile Unit Combined Arms, 1940, too far in advance. Heavy anti-aircraft guns advance for light ships, I believe. Here we go, and they're grayed out. We should do this. And when you have supposed global warming people in America, that, Green New Deal, forgive college debt, and a bunch of other social programs that have absolutely nothing with greenism, are some of their main features in the Green New Deal, they don't even take it seriously. So that's why I can't take it seriously, is when they, if the green people were going, well, I don't fucking care about college debt. We just got to reduce carbon emissions. No, you put carbon emissions in there, but you throw in Green New Deal or forgive college debt. Got to increase immigration. Got to do this other thing. And it's all about other things that they're just latching on to. So I can't take them seriously, that they really care. That it's just the sort of cause du jour. We got to fight wealth inequality. What does wealth inequality have to do with greenism? I seem to remember this billionaire out there whose main mission in life is to make electric cars. Light Armor Designs Advance, which is here. If I can keep, that we not unlocked yet. We are doing armor plate thickness and armor cast construction. I think we've got all of these. Got a lot of these ticking by and through. Let's do carrier prototype. They haven't even. You're right, Starstreak. I don't know that anybody has done any research on cosmic or rays from the sun that may affect climate. They've got to be affecting climate, because we know that there's summer and winter, so we know it affects the climate. We have we been monitoring variations in overall output from the sun? Has it been going up? Has it been going down? I don't know. And it's not just like solar flare activity, because I don't know the solar flares and overall radiation coming off from the sun levels are correlating to the solar flare. More solar flares or less solar flares mean more or less radiation from the sun. I don't know. South America, they sacrificed thousands of children to stop climate change, and it didn't work. So we can catch that off the list of solutions. Well, if you're talking, in some of the ancient civilizations, which I forget, there's some of the stuff that I hear that turned into deserts and whatnot. I know. So I read history in Rome era that was polluting some areas, had drastic damage, which affect even farming. Yes, but you see, a lot of their industrial things is they would do things like in Spain, figure out that, hey, that mountain over there has a lot of gold in it. So what they do is they use slaves, and they would dig a bunch of tunnels sort of through the mountain, and then have a lot of beams and whatnot holding up the tunnels, and then they would build an aqueduct sort of over to that, and sort of flood and then erode the mountain down with it, and then after it's all sort of spewed out onto the ground, if you will, go through and chop it up and grind it up to get the gold out of it. They were doing a lot of that. They were also doing some rivers in which instead of like a waterfall, they would direct it over, they would redirect the river, and then it would like step down a mountainside in steps, and each one of those steps would work like a water-driven hammer to like grind up grain or something like that. So you would be grinding grain in an industrial scale, but it was using, again, water. So there wasn't necessarily using, I'm not saying no, they weren't using any, but they weren't necessarily using fire or things that create greenhouse gases, burning coal or wood, as your primary industrial thing. Now they did, again, in the past, they did do local changes. Cyprus gives its name to copper. You get the word from Cyprus gives its name to copper. They mined basically all the copper out of Cyprus, but Cyprus also was known for trees. And I think it was more or less the last Cleopatra trying to build her fleet cuts down most of the major trees in Cyprus, and the tree industry, shall we say, never recovers for shipbuilding in Cyprus after that. Now, I may be wrong about that, but I know to this day there are not large trees in Cyprus. They've been doing some work on reforestation in Cyprus, since like the 60s or 70s, but it's nothing like it used to be, and they're having serious water problems in Cyprus, and Israel is actually helping them out with the actual government of Cyprus, not the Turkish occupation north of Cyprus, with desalination plants. Israel is sort of number one in the world on doing desalination technology that sort of is a somewhat anti-Turkic sort of alliance between Israel and Cyprus here, trying to help them out with water, and quite possibly part of and so they're having trouble with water for human use, let alone for trying to get enough water for trees to grow. But quite possibly, had they had more forests on Cyprus, it would retain more of the water coming from the sky. But maybe that's just other things. So yes, humans definitely affected climate by their actions. I'm not saying they're not, but I would call it local changes, not global. Puppets fuel stockpile. Oh, we don't need any more fuel. We got almost more fuel, so we're gonna let this puppets fuel continue to stockpile up. We don't know how big it is, but it gets to continue. Okay, more money, good. Copper surplus, less, yes, okay. Artillery brigades, advance, nice. Artillery. Okay. Heavy bomber pilot training. That is down here, something I normally don't do too much of, but yeah, we'll let it continue. Just, yeah. Okay, zinc. Soviet, yeah, we'll buff the Soviets up with some zinc. Long-range submarine classes, great. That's going to be our Gato type submarines that are going to be long-range. Batteries, it's engine, hull, breathing, batteries. Okay, it's 41, so we're not going to do that right now. Okay, yeah, we'll do now. Yeah. Unit combined arms. Let's shift that over to artillery unit training. And Japan has conquered the Republic of China. And they're creating Nanjing. Okay. Fair Labor Standards Act. Okay, Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, abbreviated FLSA, also referred to as Wages and Hours Bill, as the United States federal law. It applies to employees engaged in interstate commerce or employed by an enterprise engaged in interstate commerce or in the production of goods for commerce, unless the employer can claim an exemption from coverage. So basically, this is a federal government law that you have to prove see, this is what FDR has done so much damage to the United States. So much damage. This is a law that will affect every business, every bit of commerce, every bit of thing, unless you can claim or prove that you do not do interstate commerce. You know, and interstate commerce could mean, hey, you're a restaurant down here in New Mexico. This is New Mexico. You're a restaurant down here in New Mexico. Do you bring syrup in from out of state? Well, you're involved in interstate commerce. So that's how they get you. So, you know, in the production of goods from, unless you're or employed by or engages in interstate commerce. So you're buying something, you know, like syrup from the Northeast, something that can only be grown up there, and you're selling it in your restaurant. or if somebody shows up in a truck to, I don't know, buy some turquoise Indian made jewelry or something like that, or I don't know, shows up in a truck down here and buys something, and then they drive it to another state. Well, you just sold it to somebody who showed up in a truck, and the company on the side of the truck said Texas, grocery store or Texas store. So you are involved in interstate commerce now, good sir. You have to prove to us that you're exempt from coverage. Not the government has to prove that you are involved in interstate commerce. Unless your employer can claim. So you got to make a claim, and you got to put the evidence, and then the inspector's got to maybe agree with you. This is why it's a problem. And why is this a problem? I haven't even gotten to the rest of the stuff. Haven't read ahead. Never played this before. Well, the cost of living around here in San Jose and Oakland, well, some of the area of Oakland is sort of depressed, but in San Francisco, well, they're on poop patrol, but it's still very expensive to live here. It's extremely expensive to live here, okay? It's extremely expensive to live here. To live out here, it's very cheap, okay? You can buy a huge house out here for a quarter of what it takes to buy a small apartment here. Literally, I'm not making it up. This is both in California, and if you go out to these other places, you can buy a nice new modern house. Well, maybe not built in the last few years because wood and whatnot has gotten so expensive, but built in the last 10 years or so, or 10 to 2 years ago. And you can get a nice modern house, again, for a tenth of what it costs to buy a small apartment in San Francisco. So the wages and rentals and other things are different. So the wages for, now, I see child labor. That's just, no one's going that they should be doing child labor, I don't think, today. But I don't see, prohibited, it does prohibit child labor. Well, good. But it's being done on a national scale. And so the wages out here may only need to be a quarter, minimum wages as doing the exact same job in San Francisco. And let's complete this. The FLSA established a national minimum wage. See, I think that's wrong. Guaranteed time and a half for overtime for certain jobs. I think that's wrong for national. And prohibited most employment of minors in oppressive child labor, a term defined in the statute. I think that is all wrong, that it's done on the effing national scale. I think child labor, oppressive child labor. I think some child labor is good to do. Children, it's good for children to work. I know my mother put me to work gardening and helping her pick up leaves and whatnot and things, and I didn't like doing it, but she made me do that kind of stuff, rake up leaves and pick leaves up and stuff like that, Now, it wasn't as a job, and I didn't get paid by my mother, and she wasn't doing it for somebody else. It was just for our house. And so, working in a factory like that, like they're sort of picturing that, I agree, that's not the way it should be for, I don't know how old this kid is versus that kid, but at least the close-up kid here looks too young, but a 14-year-old? Well, I don't know. Now, how many hours a day? What kind of work are they doing there? How dangerous is the work? generally, not, but, okay, what if it's, a mom and pop store? They used to have them before Amazon. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember that. But, a mom and pop store, why wouldn't you have the kid work in it? And then, okay, if it's not a mom and pop store, it's a grocery store. Why wouldn't you have a kid bag the groceries at the end of the checkout stand? Somebody that's like 12, 14, 15 who wants a job, whether it's they want to buy, these are presumably poor people here that are getting this job back then. So they may want to buy food with it. But maybe in a more modern setting, they want to buy, video games, or they want to buy models to put together, or get the latest hat or whatever is cool. It's clothing, but not clothing to make them look presentable to walk out of the home, but the latest style, the supreme whatever stuff that they want to get a job to have. But can't, if it's something that is so apparently needed to be done, and society's changing. This is July 1938. Okay, 20 years before is 1918. Okay, end of World War I. America in 1914, much of America is non-industrialized. Most of America is non-industrialized. Yes, there are industrial centers. Yes, there's probably as much industry in America as there is in either Germany or Britain in 1914. Now, if you look at the British Empire, not Britain, the islands, but the empire, well, Britain's empire is mostly not industrialized in 1914. In Australia, New Zealand, India, Africa, it's mostly, even Canada, it's mostly not industrialized. Now, Britain, Greater Britain here, yes. Germany, yes, is a lot of industrialization going on, but you look at the scale of America, taking the same amount of industrialization, it's mostly not industrialized. So these are new situations that in 1914 didn't so much exist in 30 years before, in 1880. Yeah, you can talk about, early industrialization in like New York or Chicago or whatever, and the god-awful living standards in those places, and they were god-awful. You're almost drowning in horse poop in some of these cities and whatnot. Just, yeah, it's bad. But most people don't live in those few cities. And in the cities that are around in a lot of places, a lot of it is much nicer. And so a lot of the kids are, and a lot of America is still like in, 1880s, much of Europe. There's still a lot of it, they're working on the farm, or they're working in small cottage, that their parents are working in small cottage industry. So, yeah, this should have been handled on a state-by-state basis, not on a national basis. I think a national minimum wage for America is just wrong. I'm not against the minimum wage. I just think it should be each state figuring it out for itself. And what have you guys been saying? Okay. Putting my potatoes in the oven now, crossing my fingers. I don't make coal. Good luck on that, Bean Slam. FDR saved America by defeating Germany and Imperial Japan. Absolutely. That's what redeems, and I talked about it in the last weekend, what redeems FDR in my eyes. America has been the most prosperous since FDR. Yes, but FDR does so much damage to America. He would be a villain to me if he didn't. He was right about the important thing of defeating Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. He was right about that. He was, and those are sort of like just wrong about everything else, but those things the thing that's most important, he's right about, but he's wrong about everything else. So what redeems him in my eyes is, of course, World War II and his attitude leading up to the war, his positions, that redeems him. Otherwise, he is wrong about most things, and he does about as maximum damage as you can do otherwise. So keeps him out of trouble, but it also Starstreak it teaches them responsibility. Now this is probably what I would go to abusive levels of child labor. I'm not, including the amount of hours, the safety levels, the lack of schooling. There's probably a lot of things I agree that these kids should not be working in this factory, or should even be working on the maybe as many hours on the family farm. Or whatever that I would, even in types and styles of labor that I would agree with, they're probably overdoing it to the level that I would disagree with. So it's not that I think everything was fine. No, and I'm not saying reforms shouldn't have happened. It's just they shouldn't happen in fucking Washington. Should happen in every state capital across America. And see, part of the reason that America can be so great. My microphone. That's better. Okay. Part of the reason America can be so great is it has 50 now, 48 back then, different laboratories, different testing. So each one of these states might do a slightly different version of these laws. Okay, everyone does a different version, let's say, slightly different. Now, some of them might be needing to be different because this up here is winter and it's snowing and whatnot, and kids working in winter chopping ice or something, because they used to chop ice up here or whatever and ship it around, well, not maybe around the world, but to a lot of different places or whatever it might be up here. Laws and child in winter or whatever, or shortened hours during the winter, so because it's darker more often, maybe different laws than for down in Florida. So some of the differences in the laws may be purely regional, based upon whether it's sociology or physical environment, but it's just they may also be slightly different, and then go, oh well, this law didn't go far enough here, but too far somewhere else, because we see here, in this state here, well, kids being able to work 4 hours a day is great for them, but only being able to work 2 hours a day is not enough. So we need to increase, have the experiment of 50 different experiments, and then make adjustments over time to get the best effect. And so it's not the same everywhere either, because, different conditions prevail, but it's also different test cases. And so we're testing it out in different areas. And some of them won't be the best, but we'll hopefully, being humans, we'll learn from our mistakes and improve things, instead of thinking we know it's what's best and we're going to tell it to everybody else. August, Ireland's hottest was okay, I don't know, but I think it's been beaten later, but by a few inches. Okay, don't know. Hottest record in Denmark. Okay. Right. So I'm not pleased. This is what, yes, I agree. Get good. That FDR does. Churchill is the one, if you had to pick one single person who saves the world, is Churchill, in my opinion. And yes, we can talk about the Bengal famine and some of his other views that are not popular today. Now, I'm not trying to justify the Bengal famine. Some of his views on imperialism I do not disagree with, but a lot of modern people do. But Churchill, for all of his faults, you got to forgive him, because he saves of a single person, he does the most to save the free world. FDR is getting in there, but not quite. The only reason FDR is better or people might think he's better just because it's leading America and not leading some other nation. So we could do this or gain dissent. Well, we're going to do this and gain popularity, but I think it's bad. Okay, they've created Nanjing, and we're now medium popularity. Mexico wants to build a destroyer, certainly. And let's go back with that. Okay, molybdenum mines are coming online. 2,000 money. Yep, we have the money for that. So let's go for that. Well, I also understand Beam Slam. There has been a bit of a pause in temperature rise. Now, I don't know if it's continuing, but some years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, some of the stuff that I saw, there had been something of a pause in the rise of temperature. Definitely temperatures had risen, but there was like a 10-year pause. I don't know if it's picked back up or whatnot. Okay, so we're going to have an ongoing effect of wages and hours bills from that event, which will reduce consumer goods but reduce resources. Okay. Cast armor construction advanced, that I believe is here. And then we can do medium armor designs. And Beam Slam is right that measuring a few hottest or coolest days in somewhere is not conclusive evidence, but it is indicative evidence. So Starstreak is not proving his case, in my opinion, but is giving evidence that does I do know. Yeah, the hockey stick theory, I think, is debunked, in my opinion, too. Starstreak, and I'd have to look at a little more data. I'm just going off of memory right here, but we're not shooting up like they said 30 years ago when that movie was made, and the hockey stick, slow rise. Oh, we're spiking. It hasn't spiked. It's either slow rised or paused, but it hasn't come down. That's my understanding. It has not come down in temperatures, and will allow us to do heavy armor. Okay, molybdenum exports. So okay, we'll lose our bonus. Pause. Okay. Enforce. Okay, we don't really have much to say about there, but we can see that Japan is cleaning house. Yes, we're going to prolong it, get more popularity. We're going to wait until the war is well and truly going before we decide to change these. Yeah, no, I agree, Starstreak. You're giving him good news. He doesn't need to worry so much. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm just saying he's right. It's not conclusive evidence, but it's also doesn't show that there is dramatic global warming. To the best of my knowledge, there is no, in the last 20 years, there's been no dramatic global warming. Okay, we've got high popularity. That's great. Yeah, well, evil right-wing Elon Musk and his Teslas gun turrets advance. You know what evil right-wing Elon Musk recently said? We might need more gasoline cars in the future. Why? Not because he wants to make more money, because obviously he sells cars that don't need gasoline. It was because he was looking around, and he should know there's not enough charging stations here in America, at least. I know he's building a new factory over in Germany, but there's enough charging stations to charge up all the cars all the time. So we might need. Oh, do we need that much more? Oh, we jumped up a lot. Okay, I didn't. So he's saying we might need more gasoline cars, as opposed to trying to go everything over to electric right away. Not that he's like saying we shouldn't be heading towards electric, but we might need more gasoline cars. Yeah, but you see, I'm not saying he shouldn't read the climate summary, but I sort of kind of think that is is propaganda to some degree. The climate. I think the UN has an agenda to fill, and there are picking the facts that support their case and ignoring. Now, I haven't read it, but I think there is a lot of effort to promote their. I think we'll do another molybdenum. Okay. 2,000 money. We can have that. Yeah, that's part of the problem with the batteries. It's how long they take to charge. No. It's what they cost to make. It's how long they will. We'll postpone at this point. How long they'll last. Uh-oh, uprising. Okay. Well, march up there and then come back to here once you conquered that and taken the territory back. Okay, basic torpedoes have advanced. Very good. That is here, and it is grayed out. That frees up these. Let's do motor torpedoes. No, I wanted to come here. Save. Well, those watching on YouTube, can you hit that like button? Because see, all of these words that I've been saying are going to get me shadow banned. Because I do know they very much say they go through the audio of all videos going up on YouTube, and they say they're mostly looking for naughty words like F-bombs or using N-words or whatever, whether it's the World War II N-word talking about these guys, which I use a lot when it's appropriate, or the other talking about a negative word for black-skinned people, which, yeah, fine. But that word I don't use. But, they say they're talking about naughty words, but I also think, climate denying is reason to get shadow banned. So, yes, smash the like button, but also make a comment. Tell me why I'm wrong about this, or why Starstreak. I know you if you're watching this, it should be coming up on your screens. Starstreak's comments. Tell him why he's wrong. That's fine. We're adults. We can take it. We were born before it snowed and everyone was a snowflake, so we're good. So tell us why we're wrong if you like. Just help us grow. Hopefully, this overall series is meaningful to you, because I am talking about things like, the changes in society that we faced coming from an agricultural to an industrial society, a society which, in America, since before our founding, we have strongly supported education. Was a core tenet of America. The literacy rates at the time of independence was much higher in America, in the American colonies, than it was back in Britain, and continued to be until modern schooling comes into Britain. Literacy rates are much higher in America, but even then it's still primitive amounts of education going on in the agricultural society, in which a lot of children did work in all kinds of and they still got some schooling, but in all kinds of conditions, but again, mostly agrarian, not non-industrialized things. And then the shift into industrialization, and then the changing attitudes of children working in that industrialized society has changed. And yes, society needs to deal with it, but I'm, like, as you can tell, vehemently against it being done on a national level for a country of this size. Doing it on the freaking national level for Belgium, sure, that makes perfect sense, but doing it on the national level for a country the size of America, not so much, especially with, cold, hot, it's different environments, different settings. So yeah, and I think it's worthy exercise to look at the changes of society and history, and how that affects things and how we learn from it. So I hope it's an exercise that it's more than just watching me play a game. It's examining the human condition and such. So hope you think it's worthy enough to support, and so please do so. Thank you so much, everyone. See you next time for, yes, more Hearts of Iron. Okay, guys, well, it's been almost 4 hours. My voice is getting a little rough still. We'll be back tomorrow for War Thunder, again on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook now, wherever you want to catch me. Hopefully Starstreak and Arno will join in and play, and if some of you else want to join in and play, we hang out and do that. I know it's a very different sort of vibe, to use the moderns term, that it's more guys hanging out together and playing, than me talking on about history so much, though that does come up some. But hopefully you'll join me then. And sometime next week I'm going to be, I think, playing Field of Glory Medieval Storm of Arrows DLC for Slytherin, and then of course back next weekend live. So thanks everyone, see you then. I really do appreciate everyone who hangs out here. You mean a lot to me. So thanks everybody. Have a good day, evening, morning, whatever it is where you are. Thanks everybody.